Is the YouTube link in the email?
No, so those who registered, for them we have sent the Zoom link. But I think
It
this
is
is
Manish,
not
I'm
in.
just posting it. YouTube. I just got it
Oh,
in.
okay, okay, got it.
yeah.
Is the YouTube link in the email? Oh, actually, even Zoom has it at the top. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think the room is starting to fill up now. So while people join, let me also, yeah. So we'll give everyone a few minutes more to join. But for those who have already joined, if you can annotate and tell us which of these cogen initiatives are you aware about, and you have heard of. And to annotate, I think most of us might know, but on the top there is a pen-shaped button, which you can select, and you can add a star or draw around it. Amazing. I start, I see a few stars. Okay, good to know. There is coverage across. Yeah. So those who are joining, I would like you guys to just take a minute to read through these. And now it is getting overcrowded, I guess, with some of the big symbols. So let me clear the current drawings. Uh, yeah, so if you know any of these, then you can put a star or a marker. And I'll, in a minute, uh, talk about a couple of them before we start the session. Okay, good to know. Good to see so many tick marks across. So yeah, maybe to get us started, a few housekeeping items before we start the session. So the first one is the Cogent Directory Initiative. And here we have been running this through various forums and one-on-one conversations. We now have 1,000 plus families already registered. And I don't need to explain the benefits of directory. We all know as a community, we are known to be close knit, and having a directory is like a first step and more like a fundamental uh, database to keep. And this time we are keeping it fully digital. So, in case you have not registered, then please scan this QR code or visit this particular link, cogen.com/register, to get yourself registered. There is no fees. You do not have to be the lifetime member to get yourself registered. And our estimate is that there will be around 2,000 families in North America, Kachi families. So we have a long way to get everyone added. So please, if you have not registered already, then do register. And the second initiative that I want to talk about is the Mentor Mentee program. So this is also a new initiative that we are launching this year. And in a few days, you will get an email notification and announcement. So here, the initiative is aimed at fostering professional growth within our community, and Cogen will play more of a facilitator role in making the connections. And every 6 months, we are going to refresh the match. And both for the mentors and the mentees, there is tremendous opportunity and benefits to gain from the mentor mentee program. So please keep a watch out for the announcement. And I would love to have all of us participate in this particular initiative. Rest of the programs over here, feel free to reach out to any of us if you want to know more details from the board of directors or the core team. And that's it from my side on the housekeeping stuff. So let us kick off the session for today. The topic is explore ChatGPT, practical use cases for everyday life. And we have Manish Dharod, who has kindly volunteered to lead this session. Manish is currently working with Equinix. He is a principal product manager. And along with that, he also has a very useful uh, portal called simplyglobal.com, which does a lot of stuff for the Indian diaspora located globally. And let me hand over to Manish to maybe share a few words about his experience and then take us through the chat GPT session. Over to you, Manish.
Thank you. Thanks, Priyank. Hi, everyone. A lot of people here, so I'm excited to talk about the topic that I've been passionate the last few years. Just briefly about me, I mean, I've been in the Bay Area here in the Kutchi community since 2000. So it's been a while, and we have a really good close knit community here, like we have everywhere. And I have a website for getting insurance for parents visiting in India. I'm a founder of that. I'm no longer full time on that, but that's still going. So that's just generally, and by general background, semiconductors for about a decade, and then now I've been in software. Okay, so with that, let me share my screen and then we'll get started. Okay, so if I click on slide show mode, are you able to see the slide deck or just the...
Yeah, it is full screen.
Full screen, okay, perfect. All right, so welcome everyone. So the first fun thing here, so I gave this title to explore ChatGPT. I said to the ChatGPT and Gemini to create an image for me. So within a single prompt, Gemini did a better job. I got this from it. None of it was created by me. It was done in 1 second or less. So let me go to the next. So what I'll be talking today, I'll start with some introduction of AI and a brief history. I won't go into too much detail, but just a very high level so that we get some context of little bit of a history of this. Okay. Then I'll talk about the applications of it, more towards what the promise is for the society in general, and I'll kind of talk about some examples. And the bulk of it is going to be, my experience over the last couple of years. So I have been interested in AI, I say, since 2017, but since ChatGPT came out, 2022, been playing with it a lot, and so I think I have few good examples to share that potentially, you guys could use for searching for information or help, getting help for different topics. So I will go through that. And then finally, we'll just summarize it with some takeaways. Okay, what I will not cover is that, I'll just give a very brief summary of a little bit of a technical part, but generally speaking, this will not be covered for the most part here. Because I'm assuming most of you guys are not really here for that part. And I will stick to the facts and my experience, right? There's a lot of speculation around AI. And so I won't get into those kinds of things. It's going to be mostly, what I have learned over years. And the important disclaimer, right? So there is no recommendation here to use particularly ChatGPT. Claude is pretty good. I know Gemini is good. I just have been using ChatGPT for a long time, so I just have more familiarity with it. And more importantly, right, AI chatbots are not 100% accurate, right? So if it's something very important, it's worth cross-checking always, right? And I will talk about it when I show you some examples of where it is clearly not good. Okay. So that's just something we have to keep in mind as we kind of look into it. The promise is pretty big, but it's still very, very early stages. So it will have its hiccups. Things are improving really, really fast, but it's still far away from being quite a bit accurate, like a human would in most cases. Okay. All right, so let me get started. So one of the hidden agendas, if I may call it, with this one is my hope that after this presentation, the least you will have is the awe and wonder of technology. That hopefully you can take with you. So I'll start with Arthur C. Clarke. He was a famous fiction writer. He wrote a screenplay for a movie called 2001: Space Odyssey. And he's very famous. And one of the things he said, which has been used very often, is that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, and that's kind of true for lots of things now. Especially with what we see in AI. And if you look 50 years, 70 years from before today, even cell phones would be looking like magic. So that's the promise of technology. And when it comes to figuring out intelligent machines, the dream has been there for a while. It kind of started in a more concrete way in 1940s, 50s. Okay, and when I say intelligent, I'm talking about kind of human-like intelligence, because even computers today, right, they can do really good math and so many things. But when you talk about this intuition and human-like understanding of language and so on and so forth, that's something which is was still a ways off. And Alan Turing is a guy who was, I think, quite a bit respected in that regard. He was actually the World War II hero in terms of his ability. So he actually decoded the Nazi communication codes, and that led to the loss of Germany. And he devised a test, a sort of a hypothetical test called Turing test that has stuck for a very long time in the 1950s. So, the idea was that machines' ability to exhibit intelligence um, um, that is indistinguishable from human. So, very, very high level. And so he had this idea that you will have a proctor who will give questions to a computer and a human. He wouldn't know who is what, and then if he cannot distinguish between the two, that's basically would say that we have crossed that threshold of passing the Turing test. So this was something which a lot of you folks must have heard. So let me talk about what kind of led to this kind of wave of AI. And it was mostly inspired by the human brain. So, neural networks, as they're called. So it kind of started in 1940s. Two guys, Warren McCullough and Walter Pitts, they first proposed a model of a neural network. So a neuron in the brain. Let me just kind of briefly just flash this for you. I won't get into detail, but the above is kind of the model of a human brain, with different parts of it. And they proposed a certain approach to model that in electronics, and software. And so that was the beginning somewhere in the 1940s. In 1958, there was a thing called perceptron that was created. A guy named Frank created that, and it was an early neural network model for pattern recognition. So this is something that has been, as is considered one of the milestones in the AI world. And then in the 1980s, Jeffrey Hinton, he was recently in Google and he left, but he helped develop methods to make these neural networks learn, right? So learning is one of the things that is crucial to this piece. And finally, now since 2010, there are a couple guys who have been, really important in the industry to make this big progress. And one very quick way to visualize this that I've used in the past is our brain has neurons, which is the top one that you see here. There are about 86 billion of those neurons in our brain, and they each connect to each other. And the estimated number, if I am not wrong, is about 100 trillion connections in the human brain. So that's the biological neural network, if I may call it. And so if you look at the just a general diagram of it in terms of how it's done, these dots are neurons, and all of these connections in each layer of a neuron row, if I may call it, or column, is set up, and then based on the inputs, let's say in the human scenario, it's eyes, which is vision, and you hear something and sense something. Those are the inputs. It goes through your neurons, and then you either speak or make a decision or do something, right? So the general architecture at a super duper high level is kind of mimicking the brain. Okay, of course, biological neural network is extremely vastly more complex, in terms of chemicals and proteins and so on and so forth. But the general idea of, okay, having the hierarchical layers of thinking, and having something that comes out of our brain or your mouth and so on is basically the same. So that's all I have in terms of the general idea of what neural networks are. Again, just super high level. I'm going to talk about a couple of things around the new age of AI. So since 2012 until now, there has been, I would say, a major change, okay, compared to the past. So one thing that happened in around 2010, 2012 timeframe is the understanding of photos. That's what came about. So the neural networks that were created at that point were able to recognize when you give any photo, give a cat photo and a dog photo, for example, it was able to figure out, whether it's a closed, open mouth, the shape of the eye, the ears. And from all of that, since they were all labeled images, it could predict that, okay, if a new image is given, it's a cat or a dog. Okay, so that was a big, I think, revelation in terms of nobody had expected that we will get to this point that fast, but it did happen. And so that was, it started with basically it understanding photos. Over the last few years, there was the breakthrough from Google, where they proposed a technical architecture that enabled things like ChatGPT, which we are going to talk about today. So learning to read and write, like a human, understanding language, it's actually, a pretty, it was considered science fiction, just about a couple decades ago, right? Because the nuance of the language, the understanding of all of that, and then to write it was something remarkable. And so this is the ChatGPT part of it, and I'll talk, of course, the demo on that. And then lately, you guys must have all heard about things happening in the audio and video section. There are apps now which can take any text and can read in any of the stars or film stars or anybody else's voice. So they have cloned those voices. So if you want to hear, let's say, Amitabh's voice, you just give it a text and it will be able to actually precisely and no a new person will not be able to recognize that it's not a fake, right? So we've gotten to that level. On the video front, this is how it was several years ago, or a couple of years ago, I would say. And so it's all, not, it's kind of garbled, not very good. And very recently, there's something called as Sora from OpenAI that is able to create videos. And you look on the right side, this is all completely fake, right? There is no such person or this astronaut that exists. It was all created by AI, and it's whole video. So we have gotten to this level. So now it's the new age where it's audio, video as well, and the end game here, which is where now everybody is pretty much going towards, is just like humans, right? What is called as multimodal. So, image, speech, sound, document, internet access, all of that can be done with by a single AI. So that's kind of what, to a certain extent, ChatGPT also does. It understands images, and I will give you show you some examples on that. So that is kind of the historical part of it in the recent history. The next portion I wanted to talk about or cover is what are the practical implications of all this, right? And one thing I would say, which is I think very true, what I've heard many times in the technology industry, is that there's going to be a lot of hype and overestimation in the short term, okay, and underestimation in the long term. So it's pretty clear at this point that the long term is something that we cannot even imagine today. It's massive and it's big. In the short run, definitely there's going to be a lot of hype, and so even with ChatGPT, I'll give you some examples where it doesn't it cannot do math, basic math actually. Okay, so there are ways to go. So in terms of a couple of areas of big implications for this is education is number one, I think, and access and language. So these are two things which if you look in the context of societies or places where the access is difficult to information. Of course, with internet and YouTube, there is a whole lot more access, compared to past. But it's only a partial kind of step to the end goal. And what it means is that I'll talk about what the promise is, but fundamentally speaking, education content itself is hard to create, right? It's not very easy. If you want to create really good quality videos and information for our kids, there is a lot of work, a lot of labor is required. And also teaching, a lot of it is an art, right? Some teachers are really good. They will really motivate you. They will really explain things in a way which is extremely easy to understand. And there is a promise here where everyone could have that kind of a teacher in front of them. So that's a big thing. And then, of course, 90% of all modern knowledge is in English. So one of the, by the way, in the beginning, when they were working on this language model in Google, the primary use case was language translation. Okay, so it's not going to be, it's going to be pretty much in near future. You give any text in English or any other language, and it can convert. No matter what kind of material it is, it will be able to convert in any language, right? I don't know if Kutchi falls under that yet. It's going to maybe a while, but I wouldn't be surprised. In the next few years or a decade, we will have translation from English to Kutchi. I mean, I will not be surprised at all. It's an extremely hard problem to do at a generic level, but this is going to happen. One thing that you will see in terms of education is, not every kid is at the same level, right? And so how do you make sure that all kids are able to actually, do well? And that's hard in the general education world. It's kind of very difficult. A class of 50 or 60, there are going to be kids who will take time for certain, let's say math, for example, whereas the other kids will go much faster. And so that being able to tailor that is a big deal. And there is a TED talk from Salman Khan from Khan Academy recently that he gave around the promise of AI for education. And he showed this graph where, this was a study done called a Two Sigma problem, where the conventional teaching, where it's a teacher to student ratio of 1:30, looks like this curve for a student whereas a tutorial, which is a one-on-one, let's say, will get you what is called as 2 standard deviation improvement. And that what it means is, if you were to give personal one-on-one tutoring for students, they could actually get a distribution that looks like on the right, okay? And that could take average student and turn them into an exceptional student, and they can take a below average student and turn them into an above average student. So this is all good. And how do you actually scale this, though, right? The instruction this way, how do you actually do it in an economic way? I think it's easier said than done with actual people, right? And this is where Khan Academy is trying, and many other people are trying to use AI at a very, very, at a level where it feels like someone is sitting with you, they are explaining at your level, they are giving examples to you. And so that's the promise we're talking about here. On the health front, there is one area that I would like to highlight, and that's about proteins. And there's a big development that has happened from Google's DeepMind on this. So proteins, I never understood this in the past, but only recently I found out that the function of a given protein is dependent on its physical structure. So the 3-dimensional structure of a given protein molecule decides its function, right? So these, what happened is that, DeepMind, and Demis Hassabis is the co-founder of it. And he also gave a TED talk recently talking about this topic. It's worth watching. So what they did was they created an AI that took the amino acid sequence, okay, and it predicted the precise structure of the protein at an atomic level. It is able to say that. So the promise is that for pharmaceuticals especially, given a certain set of sequence of amino acids, if you want to design a certain type of protein for it to do a certain thing in the body, it will be able to predict and tell you whether it can have that structure or not. So one thing that he said, which is mind-boggling recently in that talk, was the rule of thumb is that it takes one PhD student, their entire PhD, so 4 to 5 years, to uncover one structure of protein. So if you give this amino acid sequence to a guy who is doing a PhD, it will take him 4 to 5 years to decode this structure. Now there are 300 million proteins known to nature, okay? And DeepMind has managed to unlock or predict the structure of all of them using what is called as AlphaFold, their tool, in 1 year. And that is equivalent to all those 200 million proteins basically known to science. And that's equivalent to billion years of PhD time saved. Okay. So think about that for a second. I mean, that's the kind of impact AI is having. So that's an exciting area. In general, healthcare, right? Accessibility of doctors, affordability is a big issue. There's just few minutes that a doctor can give you, right? And then understanding lab results, and there are tons and tons of myths that are floating around. So for all of that, right, if you can use AI, including mental health. So there are several companies working on this problem where, if you're a kid struggling with mental health, or even an adult, you can actually talk like you're talking to a human and get help. And it is going to get to that level where we will get FDA kind of approval, meaning it will get to that level where it's really human-like. So that is kind of what I wanted to talk about in terms of the promise of what AI is going to be able to do for education and health. And there are many other areas that I haven't even touched. But hopefully that gives you a glimpse of what is to come and the promise and the benefits for the society. All right, so now to the main part of the session. And my experience around ChatGPT, and what I've seen work and doesn't work, and some of the things. So I'll do a back and forth between the slides, and what I've done is I've opened all these chats that I've had with ChatGPT on different topics. So I'll go to that and then switch back and forth. Priyank, let me know if you want me to take a pause here for a bit for anything.
Yeah, we can take a pause for half a minute or a minute. And anyone who has questions, feel free to put them on the chat. And if I can also request people to turn on their video for 10 seconds, I would just like to take a screenshot just to keep a memory of who all attended this session. So Manish bhai, if you can stop sharing,
Oh, yeah.
I can get the full screen of all the windows. I might still not be able to get everyone because we are 50 of us, but I'll try to get as many as I can. And it's glad to see a lot of new faces join. I'm sure we are joining from all over North America. So I hope that you guys find this informative and continue to join successive sessions. Okay, so everyone's ready. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I got one, and then let me take the other screen. And we have 3, 2, 1. All right, great. Back to you, Manish bhai.
All right, sounds good. Okay, let me share my screen. All right, so first of all, okay. So it's been about, I think, 15 months or so now. I think the ChatGPT was released sometime end of 2022. And since then, I've been hooked onto it. And I use, the paid version of it, right? Which is the newer version, GPT-4. And so most of what I'm going to show you guys is being used or was pretty much using that version. But again, I think general principles will apply for the most part, whatever you use, whether you use Gemini or anything else. So first thing I will kind of talk about is the education, and fundamentally for me, it's basically my 13-year-old. So I kind of help him out, and so this was when he was 12 years old. But basically, as he goes through his school and needs my help, I definitely use ChatGPT. And so one example I'm going to show you is about the science test he had, and then how kind of let me see. Let me just hide this thing first. So you guys are able to see my browser here, right? It says
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. So here's the prompt that I gave. Okay, I said, my 13-year-old son is the 8th grader and has a science test tomorrow for which he wants to do a review with me. Here are the topics that his teacher is going to ask questions from. Okay, so there are a couple topics. And I said, give me some questions, including multi-choice, long answer, math questions. And also give me the answers so that I can check whether he answered them correctly, of course, right? Because I have no idea about these topics, to be honest. And for me to read, understand, and then help him is going to probably take an hour or more, right? So that's the kind of prompt I gave. Now, one of the things with ChatGPT, right off the bat, I will say is that all of these models, chatbots, are, if when you are asking them anything, you're writing a prompt, the best thing to do is write it as if it's a human which is on the other side, okay? And so you need to provide the context that it needs to answer a question. Context matters, because even if you ask any other human, any question, you are going to provide different types of context. So this is kind of one example, and so it gave me some of the question answers here, multi-choice. I was able to go through that with my son. It gave me the answer as well. So I did that couple different ones I tried with the topics that it gave. And then I looked, then I was asking it about the long answers. So give me a second. Okay, so I had a long conversation with it, but at some point, okay. So I asked, let's go for a few long answer questions now. So it gave me the question, and then it gave me the expected answer that my son should be, kind of talking about. And so I, generally speaking, what I did was I provided these questions to him in a Google Doc. He wrote the answers. I told him to write actually the answer so that I can give that answer as well to ChatGPT and say how he did. So we kind of went back and forth there. One of the things I wanted to kind of give you, I have written down a few things because there's a bunch to go through. So I've jotted down some of the topics that I will cover today. Yeah. So one of the things, if I go a little bit, let's say, okay, now it gave me some, questions and answers, and I was asking, hey, are these easier or harder? And if they are harder, then can you start with giving me 2 questions in? Now, I made a mistake here. I had a typo. I did not say that if they are harder, give me the easier ones. But it was able to figure out the fact that I asked this question, right? That I am looking for maybe easier. So let's create 2 long answer questions for each topics that are a bit easier, and I was surprised by that, by the way. And this is exactly, by the way, what I wanted. So I wanted a little bit easier ones. So that's something to keep in mind. And so it gave me 2 on each topic. Now, let me show you guys something that I found pretty interesting as well. Is I was asking. So my son had written down kind of the answers, and I was asking, okay, so can you tell me how my son wrote this answer? And can you tell me, actually, before that, I asked him, so I repeated, I just said, do the same thing. Okay, so I said, what do you think about his answer, right? And he says, your son has written this answer with a good start. He has correctly explained this. This shows that he understands the basic concepts of electromagnetic spectrum. However, to enhance his answer, he could have added a bit more detail of how this relationship of wavelength and frequency and so on. Okay, so it kind of told me, okay, this is an extra bit he could have added there. Now, one other that I was going to show you is, he gave this answer, and it was actually an incorrect answer, right? But the way it graciously kind of speaks, right, or talks or writes is, okay, your son's answer to question touches an important aspect of wave properties but there's a slight misconception of clarity, right? And so it says, okay, this is what he should have actually answered. So there is this nuanced way of kind of saying when you are wrong and things like that. So that, I feel is fairly interesting. And definitely, if you think about a teacher, right, or me, if I'm kind of listening to an answer, the kind of reactions that I would have for my son is that, hey, don't you know this, or what did you do or whatnot, right? And the kind of responses you get here is pretty cool, actually. Okay. So this is the example of a science test. Then there is another example of a book review that I wanted to kind of show you around this. So I kind of gave the prompt saying my son's English teacher has assigned him reading a book called this one. It's a famous book, so I didn't have to give the content to it. And he has a quiz on it. Can you please give me some questions from part 3 of the book to part 6 of the book, so that I can ask my son to help him prepare for his quiz. Also, give me the answers. Again, I haven't read this book, right? So it's and it was at least, I think these parts were at least 20 pages maybe. For me to read that and then help him is going to be hours of my time, right? But it did a really good job. I mean, and I was checking with my son on this, and it gave some questions, and it said, hey, is this the kind of stuff that you're looking for? I said, yes, give me 10, 15 questions from this part. And so it gave some short questions and expected answers, and they're more like factual, maybe things that I could ask my son. And then I kind of said, have you included some qualitative questions as well, right? And so it said, you are right, it's important to mix qualitative questions. And so the kind of questions you see here, it says, how does Liesel's understanding of power of words evolve in this part of the book, right? So it goes to that abstract level of understanding of language, and it is asking those kinds of questions to see if my son understood the way the story kind of flew, right? And that's the kind of meta learning that it does by its own, right? And nothing particularly detailed that I just mentioned. I talked about mostly qualitative questions. Okay, so that's that. The one thing I wanted to mention is that as I said, it's multimodal. So in one case, he had a book review where it was not a famous book, I think, or something. So I gave it the copy of a PDF with those pages, and it was able to completely, without any problem, read it, give the questions, and I was able to go back and forth with my son. Okay. All right, let me go to math. Okay, and this is the weak area of ChatGPT. All right. So I kind of said, okay, can you give me 5 problems that that I can give to my son for his test on multiplying polynomials? And it gave some. I said, can you give me a bit harder? And so I went back and forth a couple times. And at some point, let me go and look for that. Just one second. Okay. Okay. So when I said, give me a harder one, and it gave me a few, my son solved this, and he told me an answer which was not this. And I said, okay, you were wrong on the first one. And then it says, oh, you're right, I apologize for that error, let's correct the first problem. And it does again something, and it gave me, and again it was actually wrong, right? This is, again, I said it's not right, this cannot be factored, and then it says, oh yeah, it's correct, I apologize, this is not factorable. So with math, for the most part, I have stopped mostly using ChatGPT. Okay, and what I'm hearing is most of the chatbots are kind of similar from that regard. Math is still, they are struggling. Of course, things are improving really, really fast. So at what point they will start training them for math, and it does very well for math, I'm not too sure, but that's just something to keep in mind. Let me go to, okay, so the next topic I had, so if I go back to my slides, I talked about the education part of it, and let me kind of give you some examples on travel planning. So we used a ChatGPT a couple of times to do some planning on travel. One of them was the Europe travel that we wanted to plan recently. So I can kind of talk about that for a second. All right, so what the prompt that I gave is, okay, what is the best place to go for vacation in the world in the month of July for a family of 4, and so on. Okay, and so it was asking me, okay, do you want like outdoor activities, cultural experiences, and say, okay, international or local? I said, want to travel international, and then it gave me a few countries. Okay, and it's some highlights. And I said, please don't include any countries that have typical day temperatures that is above 80 degrees Fahrenheit, because I did not want to go to, very warm places. And so, it gave me a list of 5 places: Iceland, Norway, Scotland, New Zealand, and Canada Rockies. I knew that Iceland and Canada Rockies are definitely, I think, cooler. I'd heard. I wasn't sure about Norway, Scotland, and New Zealand. So I said, does they have all day temperatures below? I just wanted to kind of double confirm, and so it kind of gave me a little bit more detail of, yeah, this is how it is. So it kind of gives me some more confidence. You can even, typically when you have a doubt, you can ask for sources. Okay, so it will give you the sources where it found from, and it will give you a link basically where you can go directly to that sources. So that's kind of a tip to keep in mind. You can always ask for sources. Okay, and then and then we figured, okay, Iceland seems to be a place, maybe we can narrow down. And so I asked about, what are the best places to go, and I kind of went back and forth a lot with it. I said, okay, I want to do a 10 to 14 day trip. So it kind of gave me day by day kind of itinerary. And then at some point, I was thinking that, okay, you know what, it will be good idea for it to put all of this on a map. Okay, and kind of show me how does it look like my route looks like. So I said, okay, can you show me the whole, it was a typo here, by the way. Okay, I said route instead of route. I'm taking with the dots on the, but it did not have to kind of, ask me again. It figured out automatically. Give me a second. It's not loading the image. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So let me go back. Okay. So it gave me this map. All right. And this was kind of gibberish. I mean, even if you go open this, the text is all gibberish as well. Okay. So another weak point, at least for now, of ChatGPT is images. I mean, especially images with text, it's not that great. So I said, just don't worry about the fancy stuff in there. Just give me like basic map with dots on it. it did something. It did not really understand what I'm asking. So I had to go a couple times back and forth, and then it finally started giving me what I kind of needed. Is okay, these are the locations where it is suggesting me. And then I said, okay, plot them and show them what is the first I'm doing and next, and so on and so forth, and put the numbers to it so I know how my route is looking like. So it's kind of went through that back and forth with it. So it just kind of gives you an idea that you can explore this kind of stuff as well. Again, images, it's just not great. It's just not great. Okay, but most of the stuff that it gave me in terms of the content, like for example, if I go all the way here, like say I told, okay, I have a 4-day hotel stay in this place. Can you give me a comprehensive list of must-see places near that place? And I want to go maximum 2 hours. Okay, and it gave me a pretty nice list of all the things around and what the location, how far it is, and what are the highlights for each. Right. So I mean, it's a great way to kind of get information really, really fast. Now I can do all of this, browsing, going through Google and all that, and reading blogs and stuff like that. It would take me a lot more time to do this. Okay, so definitely, I think it has been actually pretty good for planning. One thing, I was asking, just curious, what are the temperatures for the European countries in July, right? So it gave me a pretty nice table with couple prompts. Okay, these are the average temperatures, low and high, in the month of July in United Kingdom, France, and so on. And so I can see where it is above 80s, and kind of understand that, okay, this is not for me to go, for example. So just something to keep in mind if you want such kind of information. The other example was we wanted to go to Mexico. And so, I asked, gave a kind of a long prompt talking about what I want to do, and so on and so forth. And I gave a Google Doc link. Okay, so it had this table with blank columns and few rows, which was attractions I had already found out. So I gave that link. It was able to read the Google Doc on its own. Okay, and it was able to help me get me to the final list of the table like this. Okay, attraction, date and time I should go there, how I should get there, total time it will take for me to like do that attraction, what is it really it is famous for. And I was asking for giving me ratings, but it couldn't do that, right? It couldn't go to like all these Google TripAdvisor and all that and give me. So this part it could not do. So the browsing piece, it's not doing that well, by the way. Okay, so if you ask it, hey, go browse and do 5 different things, then it won't do that. I think I have a question from Priyank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Manish bhai, this is super helpful what you're sharing. And I'm sure like my wife Gina's time and effort to plan a trip is going to be cut by 90%. I also want to just be cognizant of time. So I raised my hand. We have another 5 minutes more.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention that. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. No, I think there is a lot to cover. What I'll do is I'll just cherry pick a few things, and then we can wrap it up. Okay. I'll skip this. We already talked about some planning. Health. Okay. So health and ChatGPT, they're a little tricky topic. I mean, you have to have enough confidence to use it. So I recently, used it and gave a very long list of lab reports that I got for someone, and it was kind of finding it hard if I gave it too many pages. So I gave one image at a time, saying that, okay, this is what the report says. Can you read it and explain to me what this means. So it kind of gave me one by one, okay, hemoglobin, this is, it's kind of below normal, indicating it's a mild anemia, and so on and so forth, right? And after going through a lot of this, by the way, there were about like 10, 12 different tests that were done, pretty comprehensive. So then I asked it to summarize towards the end, and it gave me, and I copied it here in the Word doc, it gave me a list of all the areas where there is kind of no problem, not much issue, but then there are areas which need to be kind of double clicked on. So for example, kidney function here, and so on and so forth. So, and this, I gave it to someone who was actually going to the doctor, and everything that is written here was dot on target, by the way. Okay. So the doctor confirmed that, yes, these are the areas which do look kind of shaky, and you need to kind of take care of it, and so on and so forth. But so it's really, I think, in my opinion, helpful. I'll skip a couple of these so that I can go to another area, maybe. Let's see. Again, health related stuff I was asking. Art. So, it's again not very good at images, I was telling. So I gave it some art and I said, can you improve with some colors on it? It just never figured out what I'm asking for it. So it always gave me the entire mandala. So we were trying to design mandala on a wall. So just an example again, that very hard for it to understand images. This one was interesting. I can just quickly talk about. So there was a cricket match between India and Australia, and a group of us, we were going to meet. And so I asked, okay, can you create like a script of a rap song for me for that occasion when we are meeting to watch that cricket match? And I'll just go all the way down, because I went back and forth, and it kind of wrote this on itself, right? Bay Area से आए हैं, भारत को जीत दिलाएंगे, हर बॉल हर शॉट उत्साह से नारे लगाएंगे, फाइनल की इस बाजी में भारत चमके खेले बढ़िया, ऑस्ट्रेलिया को हराकर बे एरिया चैम्प्स का सपना सच किया. So it wrote all of that, right? I mean, it's kind of pretty cool. Bay Area Champs, by the way, is the name of our group. So it was kind of interesting. I think that maybe I can wrap up there. There were some gardening related questions I asked, and I gave an image, and it they gave me good information. That, I think, hopefully kind of wraps up all the different topics that I've used it for. And I will pause here now, and then any questions, and then we can talk about the takeaways.
There's one question on the chat about the hallucination aspect. If you could spend a minute on that.
Yeah, for sure. So, when the ChatGPT started, okay, in 2022, late 2022, it was actually not that great, okay, in terms of hallucination, what you call as hallucination. And so things have changed dramatically, though, okay, with the latest version of GPT-4. Things have very dramatically changed. For example, the health information that I was talking about, in the entire conversation of probably like 20 back and forths, I did not find, and I cross-verified, by the way, most of it. None of it was hallucination. So it is definitely an issue, and especially like you see in the images, right? Images, it's completely sometimes garbled, and so it comes up with own stuff. So areas that definitely you think are very important, that need to be verified, should be checked. But overall, I think it's reducing, and it is going to get just better and better as we go.
Yeah. And if anyone also would like to unmute themselves and ask a question live, feel free to do that.
Yeah, this is Kiran here. Actually, one of the interesting thing I saw on one of your slide, like 90% or something information is in English. But I teach here at JC, like Jain Center, New Jersey, Gujarati, and one of my student is actually also learned Hindi in Hindi USA and everything. So he was saying some of the times he was finding education videos in Hindi, but not in English, like typical science or like I mean he's in high school. So you might want to verify that 90% English, is it really? Because I heard from a person who is using I like because he knows Hindi, he would play it in Hindi and then use it for his English, like he's here in US. So some interesting thing like I came to know from him. But yeah, thank you. It was very good,
Sure,
and
sure,
thanks for all the efforts, everybody.
sure.
Thanks. I just had one quick question here, Roshni here. So like in the prompt, if I give an Excel sheet and ask it to summarize it for me, would it give me a narrative out of an Excel sheet if Excel sheet is a prompt?
I don't think I have given it.
I can try, but I
Honestly,
just want to know your experience if you did.
I
And
I think so. It does definitely. There is a specific module in ChatGPT I know, which is precisely for that. Okay, so if you try it, in my thinking, the fact that they have specifically targeted this as one of the use cases, it should work and it should give you a pretty decent summary of it.
great, yeah. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Thank you so much. One last
Sure,
thing.
sure.
You mentioned
Yeah,
about ChatGPT, and I also caught Gemini. Is there any
yeah.
other platform that we could use? Uh,
Yeah, there is a there are a couple, of course. There is one called Claude, CLAUDE
mhm, mhm.
dot AI. It's from another company who was actually part of DeepMind at some point. He left DeepMind and created Claude, and I've actually liked Claude in some ways more than ChatGPT because it has a sort of a personality, and it has meaning. It gives answers which are much more human like in
Mhm.
terms of how it responds. So that's one of them. But some of these are paid. Meta is coming up with one I know, which is free, Meta.ai, I think now. Claude, Meta, Gemini, and this ChatGPT are the four, I think, top ones, as far as I know.
Got it. Got it. Makes sense. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So
I
if
loved and I enjoyed the session. Thanks.
So if you use
Manish,
WhatsApp, WhatsApp has Meta AI built into it. Like you can directly type in your thing there.
Got
Yeah,
it.
Perplexity is another one. Yes, Priyank, that's right.
Yeah, I just
Manish,
wanted to mention an Indian founder as well because we have some
Yeah,
one doing stuff in this space.
Manish, with respect to
yeah,
hallucinations, right? The answer
yeah,
you gave, which is great, but
yeah,
when giving the prompt, can you ask ChatGPT or Claude not to
yeah,
hallucinate? Give me the
yeah,
facts,
yeah,
or just say you don't know. Can you do that?
yeah. Actually, let me share one thing. I have one example. I mean, let me see if we will call this hallucination or not. But just give me 1 second. Let me show you this one where I was asking. Give me a second here. No. Oh yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. So I was asking it the health benefits of dill seeds and edible gum, which is gundar jokochu gund and ginger. So it gave me some information saying, yeah, these are the benefits, and I asked, okay, are these credible sources? And it said, okay, the sources referenced in previous response are varying levels of credibility. Okay, the first source is a platform which is scholarly articles, and so it kind of gave me that yes, it is kind of varying. And then I said, okay, only refer to peer-reviewed journals, and find answers. And so the rest of the answers it gave me, it was only and only peer-reviewed journals, and the link was provided by it. Right? Even for the ginger, for example, and edible gum, for example, it couldn't. There was no So there is no peer-reviewed thing it could find which gives health benefits for humans. It talked about it is used for prolonging the fruits and vegetables, but it says, however, these studies did not directly address the health. So in this case, I could clearly see it's not just coming up with anything, and it's being quote unquote honest. Yeah.
Hey Manish, Neelam here. Great
Hey.
session. And a question I had was for ChatGPT or for any AI model to find the data, it has to be there, right? So how
Yeah.
recent will the data
Yeah, that's
be?
a good
Can I do
question.
any search?
That's a good question. So actually, I forgot to bring that up or mention that I have in the takeaway slides. But information that you think changes over time, like at a certain frequency, let's say a few months or maybe a year, I think I've seen consistently that it kind of has problem with it. Because depends on when they stop training it, right? It will create problem. But things like you are asking about certain concepts in science and things like that, they are not really things that are changing that often. So I think definitely to keep in mind that aspect, anything that has a time factor to it, you cannot necessarily rely in some sense, because it's not able to browse, go live, go on the internet, browse, summarize everything, and come back yet. Okay, so it's still a long way to go for that. Yeah.
So is there a ballpark on will it be 3 months old, 6 months old, or a few
Yeah.
days
So
old?
now, yeah, I mean, it unfortunately, I don't know if these guys, in some cases they are, but not very clearly saying that, okay, this is when it has been last trained. And so it's not, when you ask some question, it says my last training was done in April 2023 or something like that. Then when oh, okay, so anything after that, it's not going to be necessarily true, right? I mean, so yeah, it's unfortunately there is no they haven't mentioned, each of them have not said that only this is when we stopped training.
So what I heard is the WhatsApp meta, which is right there on the top of search. That is the most current. Like if ChatGPT is 1 year behind, Meta is ahead. He's current kind of thing. That is what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, great. I'm sorry to be the time cop here, but
No
we
problem.
will have to also close soon. So
Before we
thank.
close, Priyank, just two questions on the chat. I think one was from Nimesh. Aren't you concerned with sharing health info? I think this was because
Yeah.
you showed a document. Maybe you want to touch upon it, Manish.
Yeah,
And
yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah. Another one, second one.
what is the .ai file type? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I was talking about .ai file type. I was just
Hmm.
saying Claude.ai. I'm not aware of .ai file type.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
on the previous question, yeah, it is tricky, right? So it goes with a lot of things that are out there in technology. We are sharing our pictures everywhere, and so many other things. So the privacy and all of those aspects are very tricky. Now, there's a trust factor here, right? Do you trust a given company, and how much are you going to reveal to that company? I think matters here. Um, some of the latest changes I've seen that have been done by OpenAI with ChatGPT is they have a specific toggle where you can say, "Do not remember or don't remember any of my conversations. Do not use it for training." In fact, recently they said that they're going to stop using this for training at all, because they now have so many other better ways to train, and this is probably not needed. So there is a lot happening in that space around privacy. I am personally a little less concerned if I trust a certain company, but not everybody is same. So I think you have to be kind of using your own discretion on that.
Yeah. Great, Manish bhai, thanks a lot for putting all this together and sharing your knowledge with us. I'm sure like all 50 of us and 25 odd on YouTube benefited a lot from this. And the recorded session will be seen by many more. And for everyone who joined, thanks a lot for joining. We as Coan will bring many such informative virtual sessions. So stay tuned and look forward to seeing you again. Have a good night, everyone. Jai Jinendra.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Priyank, bhai, while already here, I mean, you're there, would you be able to give us the link of YouTube channel so that in case we want to refer to it? Not the
Yeah,
channel, just the link of this video.
I'll put it here. Priyank, you can put it or I'll put it.
yeah, I have it. Yeah. Roshni,
Great.
which region are you joining from?
Region as in, I'm based out of Seattle.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have also in some of the regional groups we have posted the YouTube live link, but we also have it on the chat now.
Yes, got it. Thank you so much. Very helpful. Look forward to more such sessions.
Absolutely.
Bhavini, that was wonderful to have a nudge on WhatsApp because no matter how many reminders we got, but that final nudge is what got to sign. So thank you for that.
Glad you could join, Shilpa Ben. That's always the idea, right? Push it. One last reminder helps.
Trust me, it did.
I'll see you on Saturday.
Absolutely.
Bye.